Hi guys, welcome to the Fingertips Hub. I'm Sukaina, your host. So today we are with the CEO of Multimedia International Agency. Without further ado, I'd like him to introduce himself.
Thank you, Sukaina. My name is Nick Kenyatta. Like you said, I'm the CEO of Multimedia International Agency. We are a production company.
Yes.
A lot of people know us as professional noisemakers. We predominantly deal with events, live events, everything from concerts to conferences to weddings, birthday parties, name it. And recently we have now gone retail. We are introducing a new product into the market. It's a German design product. Will be everything from doing installations in venues from stadiums, clubs, arenas, churches, name it. So we'll be rolling out that product in the next few months or so. And so that you'll be seeing something new coming up from MI in the near future. But yes, so we, like I said, as professional noisemakers, my background has been in entertainment for a long time. Even as a teenager, I used to do a lot of, back in the day, you may not know this, mixed tapes. So it's when we'd have mixed music done on a cassette. Not even CD, this is before CD, on a cassette. And we used to do house parties back then. House parties were very popular. It was a good way for young people to go to a party where they know other people. So going to a club, you might probably meet more strangers than anything. Then from there, I went to college in the United States. I was ambitious to become a businessman. At that point, I didn't know exactly what business.
Okay.
I just knew I wanted to make money. And a year into it, honestly, I felt not challenged. So I had to visit a friend of mine at Berklee College of Music in Boston. I was living in south of Boston at the time. And I took a tour of the school. And the first room they took me into was a studio. And I walked in and I saw this humongous mixer with all these buttons. And at that time, I didn't even know that I called faders. And I didn't go any further in the tour. I just stopped. I said, I'm signing up. I'm sold. I don't know what these buttons do. I just want to touch one of them, right? So I then rushed back to the registration desk. And I was filling out the forms. The lady said it's perfect timing because this is when they're going through vetting our students. And she said, in fact, next week, come and we'll do what is called an audition. I was like, what audition for what? She said, well, to get into Berklee, you have to audition. You have to either be a musician or of some sort. Yeah. So I said, I'm neither a musician or I don't play an instrument. I can't sing to save my life, but I think I have a good ear. She says, no, that won't cut it. So my heart was broken instantly, And from being very excited, I was like, yes, I found my future. Yeah. And so she noticed I was heartbroken, and then she told me, well, what did you do? There's a school down the street. Go check it out. And I went to check it out, and it's by luck, I don't know if it was luck or stars aligned. It was a school solely on sound engineering, which is what I wanted to do. And fortunately for me, it was run by Berklee professors who decided to start their own school and bypass some of the red tape that Berklee had. Kid, it was the best. It was a 2-year program. It was the best 2 years of my life. I did courses in radio, audio. Most of it was on audio production, so I was in this recording studios a lot. I got to work with a few Kenyan artists at the time who had just moved to the US. Someone like Sounds of Blackness, who unfortunately are no longer together, but I got to use them a lot of them for my school projects, which was kind of cool to get to really work with real Kenyan voices at the time. Fortunately, again, I say fortunately, I think I had a better experience than I would have at Berklee, because Berklee is a big school, so studio time is very limited. Berklee students maybe get half an hour to an hour in studio at a time. I was getting hours on end. I would go in at 8 p.m., come out sometimes 5 in the morning. So you get engulfed. I got sucked into it really a lot, and I spent a lot of time in the studio. From there, I worked in a few studios as an intern. And then by the week I was graduating, I was hired by a production company, which then took me out of, let's say, what I was used to, the studio, and put me into live events. So it's a similar, I'd say it's a similar choice, different application. But I fell in love with the live events because it really challenged me every time. Because you're pretty much building everything from scratch, from zero. You're told this is where the event's gonna be, make it happen. And that then allowed me to really learn other elements of the industry, everything from lighting to camera work to project management, to deal with people before events. They say some things like weddings where you have bridezillas and highly emotional clients. Let's put it that way. And I think I found my balance, so to speak. I found that I really like working with people. I like working with different people all the time. So there's no room for me to get bored.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So yeah. And then so here we are, a few more 20-something years later, still doing the same thing. We moved back to Kenya in 2012 and set up shop here. But on my way back from the US, my first event in Africa was in Maputo, Mozambique, and that was for the US Department of Defense. That hired us to help with a conference that they're doing, a defense conference on HIV for the military global. So that opened my eyes to at least how working in Africa, what it is like. And of course, Mozambique is different from Kenya, and especially at that time in 2012. So came back home, and I quickly realized that it's not the same as the US as far as how people, everything. It's not apples for apples. It's just two very different fruits. Both very sweet fruits, yeah, but very different. So the approach had to learn how to approach clients here in a different way. It took me a while to really adjust, but I'm a very impatient person sometimes, I think. So I like to force my way through stuff, and in a polite way, hopefully. So here we are. Since 2012, we've been growing holistically, and since 2012, we've done events in, of course, Kenya is our base, Tanzania, Uganda, and now we're looking at places like Rwanda to go next. Yeah. So that's us in a nutshell. I hope I didn't say too much.
No problem. Okay, I have a few questions
Sure.
for you. Can you tell us about your professional background and how it led you to start Multimedia International Agency?
So, like I said, my older brothers, we were a family of, we're not entertainers, we just love music, right? And I think it comes from our mom.
Okay.
She'd always be hosting guests at the house and everything. So of course, as she's hosting, we are really also hosting with her.
Yeah, that's true.
So you learn, quite a bit when you have to interact with, again, different people, know what they like. Even family members, we all have different tastes, so to speak. And I think that's what, I was very shy growing up. But that interaction with, extended family, friends, that kind of stuff, allowed me to kind of find my voice. So I learned, to get stuff, you kind of have to open your mouth a little bit more. So yeah, it's kind of started from my mom. She's a single parent of 6 brats. We were not easy on her. I'm number 5 in the equation, and trust me, even by the time it got to number 5, I was not an easy teenager. Everything from, I'll use the word skive. So those of you my age might know what skive means, which will mean jumping the gate to go out clubbing back in the day, and literally walking down to Westlands and taking a matatu to the whatever latest nightclub that was back then. So we always loved, and I think our goal was to really, or rather my goal was to go out, socialize, dance to the latest song, music, whatever. Believe it or not, I even had the MC Hammer pants. For those who know what that is, they will probably be laughing when they hear this. I figured I was, back then, being a young teenager, you had to be stylish, you have to be, So I'd say, music is one thing that, we all kind of like. And I fell in love with music a long time ago. So we grew up on everything from old Lingala music like Franco, Kanda Bongo Man, and that kind of stuff, to Prince, to even now Afrobeats and everything. So it's always been kind of that love for music, and all kinds of music. In a given day, you find me in my office, I'm listening to jazz because it helps me kind of focus. But there are times where I'm excited. Maybe I've just closed a deal. Yeah, I'll put something a bit more raunchy, and I'll play it loud. So trust me, I'm like, music is meant to be loud. So when we set up, I always, especially when we're doing a concert, I always try and take a few minutes before even client shows up, and I crank the system so loud, just so that I know, yes, one, it's working, and two, I should be able to feel it. If I'm feeling it, that means the audience will feel it. So over the years, it has come from, I've learned to always put myself in the end user's position. The end user is always the audience. Our client has a message. They want to get it to as many people as clearly as possible. So we're the bridge in between. So we have to be able to understand what that message is, how they want it packaged, and then give them the best solution so it gets to the audience as clearly as possible. Whatever that is. Yeah. So that's why I said in my line of work, I feel like there's no room to get bored, because I'm always learning about different products every day, different things every day, and somewhere plugging in music into the mix. So yeah, it's been a beautiful journey. Like I said, oddly enough, even after I did my audio production degree, I still went back and finished my business degree. So yes, I guess I found my why, or what, yeah. And now I had to go back and kind of figure out the why and finish off the circle and say, okay, I wanted to do business. Okay, I tried that, then got bored. I went into music, fell in love, and now I said, okay, now that I'm in love, I need to be able to finance the thing. Yeah. So I went back to business. Yes. Yeah, so it was, and the US was a good place for me. It was not easy, but it was a good place where a lot of things were kind of a lot more available. If you want to specialize in a particular industry, a lot of that is there. Audio production in Kenya is still a very rare commodity as far as a formal education. When I came back, my mom couldn't tell people what I do. She said, "Oh, what easy." I'll say at least with my mother tongue. She'd say, "Hey, DJ." And I said, "No, I'm not a DJ." And nothing against DJs, but I'm not a DJ. And yes, I have DJed, but I'm not a DJ. So yeah, it took a while for my mom to really understand. No, we do more than DJ. And there's a lot. For me, my take home has always been the science behind what we do. So there's a science part which I love, because it really challenges me to understand, everything from when you're setting up large speakers, you have to be able to understand what things like rigging points. How much weight are you putting on that piece of metal, or in this case trussing, which is aluminum? And if you put too much, is it gonna break and kill somebody? I mean, one speaker our speakers weigh about 45 kgs a piece. That's not light, and then you have many of them clustered together. It then becomes like a very, very dangerous situation. So we have to, like I said, learn all elements from safety first. You're dealing with three-phase power. You're dealing with all kinds of things, all kinds of moving parts. Always use the scenario where a lot of people will know back in the day when Michael Jackson still had curly hair, his hair caught on fire on stage because of pyrotechnics. All those kind of things that we do today, we have to be mindful of those elements of the human factor. There's people on stage, there's people off stage. You want to be able to have a good event, successful, everybody goes home happy. So there's a lot of the science part really makes sense. But then what really makes my blood move is the art. I'm not a musician, but I want to make sure that artist sounds as good as can be. That artist, sounds as they should. Yeah, and all of that takes a lot of practice on their part, a lot of practice with us, like everything from doing sound checks to doing rehearsals. All those things are fantastic. So the art part is really what, in my mind, I say it paints a nice picture in my head and makes me go home happy. Just that's why the art is the music. It comes back to why I love music. So here we go.
Okay, what inspired you to get into the event management and media industry?
Well, it's one of those industries that's really, how do I say, underappreciated a little bit. There's a lot of moving parts to this industry. And a lot of people sometimes take it for granted. They say, oh, you guys just, you set up speakers. Yes, we do. But it takes a lot of planning, a lot of, I'd say, hard work, and we're always the first ones in and the last ones to leave. Even the guy who brings food leaves before us, because so I always tell people, as much as you're looking at the menu and you're going to spend a lot of money on the menu, that's not really why people are coming to your function. People are coming to your function because, again, there's some kind of message you're trying to send. There's some kind of emotion you're trying to stir. If it's a concert, I always say concerts are emotionally driven because people want to come and hear good sound, number one. Then they'll be able to hear good music. Then now you're combining the art and the science together to give an experience, right? And it should be, I'll use the word visceral. Visceral, you should feel it in your gut. You should feel it. You should taste it. It almost engages almost all your senses. And if you're able to achieve that without making people deaf, then my job is done. So I always say this again. That's where the science and the art kind of have to come together, and the understanding of both worlds. As much as I'm not a musician, I'm able to make a musician sound great or an instrument sound great. I always say I have three instruments. These 2 years and the brain, which is sometimes a bit quirky sometimes, to interpret what I'm hearing. So again, the tools I use are important. So it's not so much about brand, it's about quality. It's not so much about quantity also. It's knowing that if I apply the science, I'll know, okay, for this size crowd, I need this number of boxes. I'll need this number of this size stage, depending on the size of the band, the group, and so on. And then once all that says, I'll need this much power. So you see, there's a lot of science that goes into it. And I always love working with young people, because then I feel like once you're able to engage a young person and you get them beyond just the music, for example. They're excited. I'm doing a concert with Lovoku. They've all been seen is hearing this song on the radio and so on, and they're like, I get to work with this guy. That's great, yes, but let's set up, let's do everything right, show up on time or ahead of time, and let's get everything done. So when the artist comes in, maybe you'll have some time to maybe engage with some of the artists backstage. Oddly enough, it's just my own personal practice. I don't enforce this on my team. I never take selfies on clients. It's never been my thing. And yet, I've worked with Obama. I've worked with John Kerry when he's running for president. I've done events for Disney, Broadway, and so on. I just have never felt the urge to take a selfie. And I think it's because we forget these people, as much as powerful as they are or as great as they are, they're just people like you and I. So there's certain points where they need that me time. So a lot of times I'll be backstage, like when I was in the US, I'll be backstage with some of these people, and my job is to make sure they're mic'd up correctly. Before they go on stage, I'll tell them, okay, when you get up there, this way you'll stand, this is so that they when they get up there, they're confident. They just then focus on their message, right? They're not right, why should I be? No. And a lot of these guys, because they do it so often, they're pros. They're amazingly good, and that little message you give them just allows them to kind of relax a little bit more and just do their thing. I think one of the most inspirational events I've done was with Colin Powell. He had just retired from being Secretary of State, and he came to the event a bit late, and he said he's late because he drove himself for the first time in many years, and he had a Corvette, and he says he drove himself and he drove his Corvette, and because it is about a 45-minute drive, he was speeding because he wanted to really feel the power of the car, and the police stopped it. So, and when they stopped him, they didn't know who he was, although they couldn't recognize him right away. And when he showed them his ID, of course now the police gave him an escort all the way to the venue. But he showed up and he knew exactly where to go. He's what we call his stage movement and management was so professional. I remember we had an issue with one of our microphones, and he knew to go to the podium, and he's the one at the podium. No, the wireless one was an issue. Once we fixed it, he kind of looked at us with just a side glare. We did this, and he went back to work and drove in the stage. So effortless. No one else knew something was wrong. And nobody, yeah. So, and he's not the kind who will say, "Oh, this is not working." You know, he kind of just played it cool. So that essay is where I say there's the human side to these people, and they're always striving just to be treated just like a normal person. So, in essence, going back to I don't take selfies with my clients. That's why, because I don't have to feel like, oh, I have to be on my toes. I have to whatever. No. Hey, use foul language if you have to backstage. I will not record you. So, and I think for me, yeah, my take home was, hey, those are not regular day for me. So I just kind of got used to it, and I tell my guys, hey, you're gonna get to meet all kinds of people. A lot of my technicians had never had a passport before they started working for us. Then I told them, you have to go to Tanzania, you have to go to whatever. So now all of a sudden they have to get travel documents and all these things, and now they're getting to see places that maybe they may have never seen. So I tell them, hey, it's fun, but yes, hard work first. Let's work. Then we work hard, and we definitely party hard, because I always say it's good to celebrate your wins, even if they're small sometimes, just to keep everybody motivated. We're not a typical company where we don't sit at the desk all the time. In fact, rarely. You can see all this device. This is my travel. This is my briefcase office. I'm always on the go. So it's COVID, of course, came and disrupted a little bit. But we decided, we've decided to venture into other sides of the industry. And yes, I think you've seen some of these little products here. It's a product designed in Germany, and we just came back from India, where the factory is, and we'll be distributing these products into the East African market in the near future. So we're still remaining relevant in a sense, but also we decided, it's one thing to, as a company, we have to grow. Yeah. So we said this is a good direction, because we actually consult a lot of people on what to get, and so on. So we said, why not bring it here then, and then service people here instead of waiting to ship stuff in. We want to really create a situation where people can have access to spare parts, if it's a service, right here, instead of having to wait for things from outside. Because especially right now, COVID interrupted supply chain, so you're getting components meant to make these take a while to come, especially on this side of the world. Yeah. So sorry, I gave you the long. I gave you the long answer.
It's okay, no problem. Okay, you've given us a hint, but I'd still like to ask. Okay, how did you acquire the knowledge and skills necessary to manage events, sound and stage equipment, and camera equipment?
So, like I mentioned, I went to school for audio production, so I got the science there, the basics, I should say, yeah. And most of the time, for a technical industry, you still need the basics. Once you get out in the real world is when you really get to learn and get that exposure. I was very lucky. The company that hired me out of college, they really opened my eyes up to a lot of things. And instead of me going to a recording studio where I was already very familiar, I was now thrust into the real world where literally as a very junior technician, I'll be delivering equipment to clients throughout Boston at the time. So I was 22, I think, at the time, and I never thought that my career would kind of move that quickly. Within 6 months with that company and learning quite a bit about different equipment, different clients, how to interact with clients, because obviously business is a people skill. It's knowing how, from the handshake to, building that trust, that confidence. Because always say, it's the things we learn when in the Bible and everything. In most religions, they say when you break bread together, then there's a bond is formed. You either know what level to trust this person or not to, maybe, and your confidence is grows from there, right? So when you're doing business with somebody, client is looking at you, I'm gonna give this person money, they better be delivered. And in all honesty, they don't know until you do, right? But they need some semblance of comfort to be able to at least sign the deposit, so to speak. Beyond that, so after about 6 months of working as a technician and being on the road, interacting again every day, different clients, multiple clients at different times, I was very fortunate. I used to live about an hour, almost 2 hours drive to my office, and an opportunity came up closer. Same company, but they had a contract with a convention center in Boston. At the time, it was the largest convention center in Boston at the time. It was called Bayside Convention Center. So they needed an in-house manager. So I went from technician to manager within 6 months. I couldn't believe it, and at the time, that account was equivalent to $3 million a year in revenue. After being a while there, I grew that account to slightly more than that. And then even the convention center was in what we call south of Boston. So then I started forming other accounts for the company further south. So I became like the regional manager for that side. Still at 22 years old. So again, I didn't expect that 6 months from graduation, right? And the company I worked for was very, let's say it was like a family. It was owned by a lady who she said the company is her and her husband. And she grew the company to this big corporation. And to this day, we still keep in touch. And it's been, over 20 years, I think. And I keep in touch with them because they really held my hand. So through that company, I was able to, again, at least get the basics on lighting, on camera, all these other elements that go into the event space. But more importantly, allowed me to interact with all kinds of executives, all the way from an executive to a very junior person. So, and everything in between. What that taught me is, one, we're all human beings. So I learned that it's not that this guy is an executive, I have to treat him any better than this junior person, A lot of times this junior person will actually open doors for me and make things happen a lot faster. Case in point, the convention said that all the other departments were union departments. So you couldn't do anything. For example, if we needed power run to our sound system, I couldn't even connect that cable without the union representative. And if you treat them in the wrong way, it'll make your life difficult. Yeah. So I learned a long time ago, be buddy these guys. Have lunch with them during lunchtime. Go in these simple things. Get to know them because they're people. Yeah. Most of them were guys. So it was easy to have guy conversations. Half the time it was very not PG rated. But what happened is they saw this kid who had a funny accent. He's in America, and they embraced me. And this is south of Boston. It's Southie, they call it. Not very. Let's just say very few black people live there. Yeah. Yeah. So, but those guys, when we were working, they treated me with respect. And if anything, I felt very safe, very protected. So again, so I have to deal with electrical engineers, I have to deal with the guys who set up the carpets in the whole place. So everybody, because if I don't do that, my work becomes very, very difficult. So that when my team comes in, everything is in place, they just plug and go. we coach when even our own speakers, when we set up, the electrical guys are the ones who have to take them up to the field for let's say a graduation event, for example. And working at the convention center was interesting. One day you could be doing a baby shop where there's diapers everywhere, and the building smells like diapers, to where you've let's call it the diaper derby, where there'd be babies crawling on this racing carpet. Next day it's a dog show. Next day, a week later it's a car show. So you're seeing all these industries coming through there. And the cool thing about that, again, you get to see and understand how different industries work. And again, you get to meet different people all the time. But the team was the same team, and we had a very good team there. So to answer your question in a long way, I quickly learned that if I need to grow, I have to allow myself to understand that I don't know everything. And I'd like to know everything, but not really, but because that'll be too much. But I want to know things that at least I'm interested in. So anything that's related to my industry, I learned on the job. And a lot of times clients will ask me, why do I like what I do? I say, I like working with my hands. And my industry, you have to work with your hands. So it's like Kikuyu saying, I tell people all the time about KYM. KYM, for those who know what it is, it's Kadel. Kadel, I'm Woko. Yeah. It means you work with your hands. Yeah. And there's nothing more, for me, fulfilling and, let's say, innocent than being able to do an honest day's work. And you work with your hands, yeah. Clearly it doesn't keep me fit enough. I think I need to lift more speakers. But I love what I do, because then what I did, every time I'd hire, let's say, a camera person, I'd always kind of hang out with them a little bit. And then again, why are you doing this with the camera? Why are you doing that? Ooh, that shot is really good. What did you do? And it came in handy, because there are times where that really great camera guy, maybe he got sick in the middle of a show.
Yeah.
The show must go on. We're lying, okay, just not stop it. I actually had to jump on a camera, and I said, okay, it's done. He set it out. Just all I have to do is this, and here. And again, at the end of the day, you deliver what you said you will deliver. So it allowed me to become like, when I schedule my team, I always schedule them and then have me as the spare. Why? I'm always gonna be there anyway. Yeah? So let me have a full team. If you get a flat tire, I'm the spare. Yeah? So you're like it can be, yes. The camera will look bumpy, but it will move. And I think by doing that, it kind of helped me become humble in the sense of saying, look, I don't know everything, but these guys are the best of the best. I mean, I can say honestly, I've worked with guys who have been on Hollywood sets doing lighting. Like, there's a guy who's his art with lights is, I've worked with guys who, they've done just about everything. So when I'm next to them, trust me, as much as sometimes I was a boss, I kind of said, you know what, I want to have a few minutes. Let me understand why he did that setup. So over time, when you're doing events, 2 to 3 events a week, you quickly start learning a lot. And, again, that way, if there's any glitches, I'm there as a backup. A lot of times, I just give them my instructions, set this up this way, and I walk away, they come back, they're done. My job is to make sure now I have to feed them. Yeah. And everybody who's worked for me knows I usually like just feeding. Hey, you do a good job, I am feeding, you don't have to go anywhere, food is coming. Yeah, because you have to eat. Let's say a happy team is a fed team. And with good planning, there's now that allowance of time for your team to also take a break, take a breather, calm down, or in some cases when there's a problem, there's time to fix it before the show starts. And we set up. We always keep everything neat, so it's easy to track if there's a problem even in the middle of a show. We always try and build in some kind of redundancy. So you only get to that point when you have been around the industry for a while. So for me, getting to understand all these elements has taken quite a few years. But it's the attitude is key. So I became, again, the human sponge was I knew, for me to move to the next level, I have to understand what he's doing. So that I can be better than him or just as good as him, just so that I can also grow for myself. And again, in the situation, if there's a problem, I can jump in as the spare. Yeah, as you know, but yet I'm done who's I was a project manager for a long time, so I was the lead. Yeah, from everything from liaising with the client to helping get the contract to execution, and then at the end making sure everybody's paid, make sure all things are done. By the time I say this here is done, I can walk away and I'm off. Usually, a lot of times I'll be planning my next show on a plane, because I believe in one city. Sometimes I'll be going to the next city for another show. It was not uncommon for me to be on a flight all the time and be home maybe 4 days in a month. At the beginning, it was, let's just say, it got very interesting very quickly. So yeah, if you're traveling like that, then you learn how to park very carefully. And then you book a hotel, you make sure there's one that does laundry services, because moving from hotel to hotel, yeah. And so we try and make sure that we've covered all bases as much as possible. Yeah. So it's, as I say, as professionals, that's our job, to make sure that there's no glitches, is okay, and client is happy. At the end of the day, and problems come up. Remember, all these things, they're beautiful, everything, they're man-made. They will break. What are you gonna do when they break? Yeah. So it's knowing how to deal with it and how to handle lots of those emotions that come with there's a problem. And the best way is to be truthful and just say, yes, there's a problem, but we're dealing with it. And make sure you find a solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Okay. Gotcha. Can you share some of the key milestones in your career that have led you to where you are today?
Wow. Key milestones. Okay, I think my day one, when I discovered that I actually have a technical, a desire for the technical side, and not just desire, the ability to work in that space. I think when I started doing audio production, it's a very different discipline than any your typical courses. So that my day one was an eye opener for me. I fell in love, and I was like, again, and I went to Berkeley. I saw all these buttons, like I want to touch, and but beyond that, I think that the biggest influence in my life to date, even I say milestone, is honestly becoming a dad. And my daughter came about, she's a surprise baby. My daughter came about I'd say officially about 2 years after I was in the industry. So I got to work a little bit, and now I'm a dad all of a sudden. It changes your perspective very fast. And fortunately, I kind of had the mindset, my industry is going to take a lot of time from my family, because I'll be away on shows and work mostly into the night sometimes. But I said, it's a choice, right? And I said, well, if I'm miserable, chances are I'll transfer that to my family. So I said, well, it doesn't make sense. Why should I change my career? Because now I'm a dad, for example, and then maybe be miserable. So I had a discussion with their mom, and I said, look, I think we should agree early that our kids just have to adjust to our lifestyle. And our lifestyle was, we worked very hard in 2 different industries. And we said the schedule will make it work. And we did. It was not easy. But my kids have grown knowing that I'm always on the road. But when I'm home, I'm home. And I become maybe number 3 when I'm in the house. I tell them it's me I have to balance my time carefully. So when I'm very young, I'd always watch things like Dora the Explorer and so on, and my kids, and I'm learning Spanish from a cartoon, and that kind of stuff. So that was probably the most major milestone to date. Now my kids are much older now, and my daughter's in university, and she actually had wanted to kind of go into production as well. But then she said she's been in the industry for a while because of me, and also because of her own passion and stuff. So she said, well, she knows how to do videography, she knows how to edit. So why should she go to pay all this money for a degree in that? And I said I was kind of heartbroken at first, but it made sense. So she said, well, and she still does that today. She still does some editing and so on for some of our friends in uni. My son is still a bit young. He's still trying to figure out what he wants to do. But, you know, what I did is during the holidays and so on, I'd make sure they come work with, at least in the office with us. From I have photos of my son cleaning the equipment. There's a time I injured my leg, and I got a call from a client last minute for a small event, and my kids carried all the speakers, and they carried me because I had to use crutches. So and I didn't have crutches at the time, so they were my crutches. They walked me into the building. They carried the speakers in. I told them, put this there, put this there, put this there, and they did. And we did the event. I bought them dinner. Because I told you to buy dinner. It was a Friday, so and we packed the car and we went home. And so for me, that was my team. And I told my client, yes, I'm coming with my kids because it's the last minute. And I don't know, there was that issue. And so we did it. We pulled it off. And for me, I always said it's good to involve your kids in what you do. So they understand, well, this is what daddy does for school fees. And this is what daddy does for our well-being. And this is why sometimes he's away for so much. But at the same time, I encourage a lot of people to, if you have kids, balance
between your work life.
Exactly. Another milestones. Wow. I think so as a company, we're done our 5-year projection plan of what we're going to do for the next 5 years. Along the way, COVID came and disrupted everything. But I think in silence, sometimes when you're forced to sit somewhere and it's not in your control, and that's what I think COVID did for us. It forces you to think. And I said, well, all these things we wanted to do 5 years from now, why can't we do them now? And obviously, I met our creative director of content. Mary, I think you've interviewed her on another session, and we decided, well, let's start doing podcasting. Let's start looking at things like that, content. We've been playing in that space for clients, but like events. She's a voiceover artist, and it was an eye-opener. I just said, I have all this equipment right now. It's sitting. What can we do with it? So during COVID, there's a lot of online parties. So I'd keep posting and play music and post. And I get all these responses and just genuine people saying, oh, good, nice mix or nice setup. And from that, I said, well, we need to do something. So I decided to come out from being behind the camera to being in front of the camera. That is not easy. As much as I have a lot of experience in that space, it's not my natural comfort zone. So we started doing a show. It hasn't been launched yet, but it's called Nick vs. Who. So it's dealing with the issues of men, issues that men don't really address right away. We don't go to the doctor until it's too late, for example.
Why don't men go for checkup?
Yeah. So the sessions with me, literally going through the process, going for the checkup, getting everything like a full workup done. And just showing men, this takes us a few minutes, and it's good to know before there's a problem how to avoid this problem. So we said let's start helping people. So some of the things so Nick vs. Who is more like my journey shared on platforms from everything from mental health, financial wellness, fitness, and that kind of stuff. So I've always been big. Let's say it's my bad. I got my dad's body. This is genetics. So getting it off it's difficult. But you can still be healthy, right, in the process. So it's kind of, you get to see that journey, but in a fun way. I always say, you can't just be, come watch me work out. No, that is boring, and everybody does that. So he said, well, since it's a guy show, it has to be testosterone driven. So we want to take ourselves and challenge ourselves in situations where in the process we get to learn what other people do. Like, I'd like to be in a cockpit of a fighter jet and be taken up. I might throw up, yes. But and I never used to be scared of heights, but I'm sure I'll be terrified. But I'm sitting between me and this little glass is. But I say it's this like you get to understand what fighter pilots go through. Maybe a day with a cop, where police committing suicide so much or killing each other so much, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of things we don't get really to understand until. So he said, well, let's not hide behind it. Let's kind of just go head on. Other things we're doing in that space is working with urban refugees. Banyamulenge community. So we've been doing mentorship sessions with them where we kind of walk through basic things like understanding your brand. Everybody's a brand. You have a brand. How do you represent that brand in the best way possible? And how do you honestly convert that to sustainable, lifestyle, right? So we just walk through what we've learned along our journey. From branding to microeconomics to all those simple things that you can do. We're not teaching you how to be an economist. No, I am not good at that. That's Kibaki. That is our economist. But it's sharing our experiences and just seeing, so we've been getting positive feedback on that. And then also from there, I'll say your network is only as good as how you use it, right? I can have someone's phone number, but if I never pick up the phone to call and sometimes just say hi, yeah. It's something I learned, and then there's a lot of social media groups out there. There's one group, and it's mostly for party animal people, but they put something during COVID. They said every Friday they have to call in and check on somebody even on a group who you don't know. Okay. So you just get a random call. So at first I was like, what the hell? I was like, but they said no, we're just checking to see how you doing, And after a while, it just became, this is kind of cool because every Friday you have to call somebody, somebody you haven't talked to before. Besides just getting to meet people, you get to kind of create this sense of community that sometimes I think we lost somewhere along the way, or we're too busy or whatever along the way. And for me, as much as, like I said, I'm in the event space and I get to meet all these people all the time, and I get home, I don't want to talk to anybody. It's like I just want to be quiet. I just want to enjoy my time. So, sometimes I have to just switch off the phone and just say, no. But sometimes I get to miss a lot of other things. Yeah. So that kind of reminded me, okay, as much as yes, we're going through COVID and we're all stuck in our homes and kind of going crazy with cabin fever and all these things, being able to talk to somebody else different it's kind of okay. And again, even as we mentor these young people, let's say in the Banyamulenge community and so on, I usually leave there learning something new. Banyamulenge are mostly from Rwanda, Burundi, and so on. So I get to learn at least one cultural differences. What are the issues you guys go through? When you come to Kenya, what are the issues you see that we don't get to see? Yeah, they are a very tight-knit community, more tight-knit than, let's say, a lot of our communities. So it's really take home is that thing we need to come back together somehow and just be, there for each other a bit more. During COVID, I think it was a huge eye opener. But now here we are. So we are pushing forward. It's post COVID now. A lot of good things are happening. We're thankful that we made it through. One thing I am always grateful is, yes, I get to wake up and do something new every day. And it's not for the grace of God that He gives me that opportunity. So I don't take it lightly, and I always say it's an opportunity. Today's a new day. It's a new opportunity. Let me find something new. Let me find something that will challenge me and help me again grow, learn something new, and so on.
Cut. And nice.
Can you tell us about your studio setup and the types of recording and podcasting services you offer?
Okay. So we decided to look at podcast it is as a service to end users. So these are people who have a story to tell, but they don't know where to start. So some of the services we do is we can walk you through how to structure your story so that it's packaged well. Everything from scripting to organizing your topics of discussion, so to speak, so that when you get on recording, it's not just you're not really just rambling on. So because I always say everybody has a story to tell, and sometimes the way you may relate to a very large audience very well, or I may relate to a much smaller audience, but there's still impact on both sides. So it's not so much about audience size, it's about the quality of stuff you put out. So we start from, walking you through, this is how a podcast is structured, yeah, based on your genre, your type of topic, and so on. And then now we go into the studio. The studio is set up, we have two studios. We actually have a portable system that we can go to any location and set up. So if you want a garden scene, if you want a beach scene, we've actually done a couple of beach scenes in Watamu, where we're able to record. Even with the wind, our microphones are able to mitigate all that noise from the wind and everything on the beach. Or you can come to our studios where we're set up. Everything is digital. So we're able to record very quickly and then take that to editing and post-production. So we can give you an end-to-end service. Or you could just be like, look, I just want to record, give me my file, I'll go edit at home. Whatever fits your budget, your fancy. But also, and you can do a regular podcast, which is audio, or you can do a vlog, which is now includes video. So we have remote cameras actually. So the good thing is remote cameras, when you're doing a podcast, I'd say it's usually a very intimate conversation. So having a camera crew, for example, in the room, sometimes can, let's say, create, it doesn't make things as easy. These cameras, fortunately, are remote controlled, and actually this is one of the controllers here. And you're able to pan, tilt, and all that. You can hear them move, for example. So, of course, we'll set them up in a way that it's where we need them. But if need be, we can zoom in on you and let's say you have a very hot topic here, to create that drama. That's why you say that the science now meets the art. It's understanding the art is understanding how to lay the story out so that people are like, oh, wow, it's kind of cool. It was intense, it was whatever, So we're able to do that with some of these toys. And yeah, so we have microphones, we have headphones, able to hear yourself. If you want the kind of that radio feel, you can actually hear yourself. We can add in, it can be a live podcast, or where in cases where you want us to edit and maybe add stuff to it, maybe music or whatever, you want us to produce it a bit more. We're able to do that as well. So put in sound effects, that kind of stuff. So again, at the end of the day, even if it's just audio, you can make it so interesting that when someone listens, it's almost painting a picture in their heads. And kind of like how radio started. Soap operas started on radio. All telenovelas were started on radio before TV was even thought of. So you can imagine you're listening to Alejandro, and in your mind you're already seeing this very handsome Alejandro, and he's talking to Maria, So the voice, the tones, all those things, how they express themselves should paint a picture and kind of marry this whole thing. Whereas soap opera is so addictive, and half the time they're foreign language, at least the actors are, then you just dab over them in English or whatever. It's because those stories they're fantasies. We all to be, I seem we all live in this rich world. Everybody's good looking, everybody has a six pack. So you're selling a dream sometimes. But anyway, so going back to podcasting, it's now people are looking for real stories, real life kind of stuff, because then they can relate. Because I'm not the only one who thinks that way, or I didn't know that. And then what happens is, thanks to the internet, we go looking for more information, and then hopefully learn something new. So at the end of the day, well, it's about edifying people, and telling a story. in the best way possible.
Can you share some of the most memorable events that you have hosted or managed and why they were so special?
Okay. I use this one all the time because I was younger, you know. We were called in. I used to work for a large production company in Maryland, and we were called in to New York to discuss doing a Broadway production, but not in New York. Broadway is based in New York, right? They told us it's going to be in Sacramento, California, on the other side of America. So we had to now handle the technical side of stuff. So we're not in a theater as most Broadway shows are. We're in a convention center. So it's flat. It's concrete buildings. It's nothing beautiful. So we had to build this massive stage and do 10 Broadway shows, full cast, in an hour and a half. Everybody thinks, how can you do that? Each show was 10 minutes long. So we did Spider-Man. That was the easiest one. It's only one guy in Spider-Man. So just one character, yeah? Yes. Spider-Man himself. So how do you change the set to fit each show? So we said, look, let's be realistic. An hour and a half, we have no time to start with headsets and there's no curtains or whatever, none of that. So we played with lighting, a lot of lighting. So we're able to program Spider-Man. It's blues and reds. Yeah. You know? Lion King. Of course, that was my personal favorite because yes, it was full African cast. Yeah, South Africans, those guys can sing. And they had the headsets to look like a giraffe, a lion, or whatever. The costumes are very detailed, so which made challenging for us. Where do you put the microphone? You know, and this is the lead singer. He has to, you know, that's why all that stuff. Like, he has to project, and we have to really catch him well. That was the first time I learned that you could put microphones in hair.
What?
Yeah, the trick is to make sure you match their skin tone so you don't see the microphone. So as much as, let's say, some of them had a head one, whatever, before they wear the stuff, you put the microphone in and then they put the giraffe, whatever. And it worked beautifully. That's the first time I ever did anything. I didn't know you could do that. Again, Broadway was new to me. And I was like, whoa, this is cool. And we did that for, again, Mary Poppins, right? It's Mary Poppins and 50 kids. All of them had microphones. And it's a musical, so there's a lot of dancing, right? And I kid you not, and I think I can say this freely, the best cast I worked with, all those 10 of them, was that one. The kids were on time, they didn't complain, they rehearsed with us whenever we need to, always boop, boop, boop. They'd all say like, okay, they'd be, I'm coming, I'm like, you know, so, but the kids were so perfect, and their parents are not allowed to come, you know, so you can,
just the kids.
Yeah, so we built Broadway in a convention center to do 10 shows. So we did Spider-Man, Lion King, Mary Poppins, Alice, my brain starts going mush here. Why am I forgetting the rest? Anyway, all the big productions. So the client on this one was a Student Youth Travel Association. These are the guys who take schools to go visit Disney. They go visit Broadway. So the Broadway was saying thank you to the association, yeah, for bringing them all this business. So they said, well, let's bring all 10. And these shows, even during that production, these shows compete for audiences. So that even during that production, they were still competing. So they brought all their lead actors. It wasn't like the B guys or whatever. So we had to manage egos, you know. And each show each show full cast. Each show has its own production manager. So we had to tell them, no, you're going after these guys. Why? No, I'm like, just that's the sequence we've arranged, yeah. And egos would come into play. I said, no, come on, it's an hour and a half. This is why we've done it this way, yeah. And it's during a lunch. So we did that 2 years back to back. The next year we did it in New York. I think that one is a big one because of a lot of moving parts. Don't mind my dog in the background. So The one that rings a bell here, we decided to do our own event after some time. We run a brand called Ngoma Festival. Ngoma Festival is an event tailor-made for Kenyans by Kenyans. It was in essence designed to promote Kenyan artists, to promote Kenyan music, and hopefully take it to the next level. Yeah. How do we do that? How do I mean? We required all artists to rehearse 3 weeks before the show. That typically doesn't happen in this. It's not a regular thing. Yeah? And on top of that, we said no one can do playback. So it's not a DJ playing a track and you just singing a mic. No, you're playing with a band. So a lot of people have never had their music played with a band on stage. So it was in essence, that's a part I say going to the next level. Want artists to kind of experience how it feels to be. This is what Michael Jackson goes through, this choreography. So all those things happened. So we did then. Okay, then we decided, since it's our first time doing this, how do we celebrate Kenyan music? Let's take people back in time a little bit. So let's go back to when Genge started. So we took Ogopa versus Caliph. Those are the two camps at the time. And we got artists from both camps. So we had nine artists and about 4 DJs and about another 4 MCs. So let's just say I spent a lot of money. But even with that, I'm always in an event. I'm always like the number one fan. I'm always there. Once everything's going, I'm now okay. Let me convert myself into a spectator. And I was really happy how things went. Of course, I always say we could have had more people in the audience, which is more money. But but at the end of the day, for our first event, where literally artists are coming off the stage and they're saying, when is the next one? I'm like, wow. Certain companies, I can't name the names right now, who at that time they didn't know us as a brand as far as Ngoma is concerned, were calling us for tickets last minute. And I said, okay, fine. Since you refused to sponsor, you're going to pay for the tickets. And the feedback was very positive. We had a few challenges before the event, but it's okay. I always say nothing good comes easy. But again, I think I also mentioned earlier that I'm a bit stubborn. So I said, no, we've committed. I don't want to be another show that Kenyans look forward to, then it's cancelled. I said, no. Don't mind my dogs again. They're just excited. So those two I think are two of many that I always say we're happy about. We've had events where we've set up the day before, we've come back for the day for the event. Our cables are stolen, so we had to build cables from scratch again. We did that at Turi, was before the mall opened, and they didn't have power in the entire building. With 2 large 100 kVA generators and powered 2 floors of the mall. It took in 24 hours notice, and we did an event for them. But then the day we set up the day before, the day we come for the event, cables have been stolen because it was a construction site still, and we rebuilt and we did the show. And unfortunately, at the time, CK was still alive, and he came and shook my hand and said, "Good job." I said, "Thank you." And then from that, other things opened. I always say sometimes what would have considered not a, let's say, a huge event for us, it bore more business for us. We actually got a contract with them for 3 years, so we served them for 3 years after that, which was actually a very good deal. And yeah, so it's been a journey of learning and stuff. Crossing borders is always interesting. I'd say Tanzania is another place that's a challenge to cross, but with good planning and having good relations and so on, and things are able to happen for us to execute. For us. I'll let you. I think I'll stop there on that one because there's many. I'm thinking of many other exciting times, but those are 3 good ones for us.
What are your plans for the future for Multimedia International Agency?
Well, when we started the company, I was just looking at events. I'd been employed for a while by other people in the US. And I said, well, I got tired of making people rich. so I said, let me start this production company on my own. Fortunately, I used to work for a company that used to do installations as well. So most of it was in very wealthy neighborhoods where we would do home automation. So when we're not doing production, we'd be out to the team doing home automation and running cables through walls and all that kind of stuff. And that also taught me quite a bit. So what's next for us? I think we're going the retail route. Still keeping the production and the live events side because that's mature. We'll be doing a lot of installations for our clients. What kinds of clients? We're looking for clients in clubs, banks, buildings, malls, churches, and so on. And kind of give them a product that's very reliable, give them service that perhaps, hopefully it's, trying to bring a sense of fresh air to that space. We've been called a few times to resolve issues where somebody else has done an installation and has disappeared. So there's no that after sales support. For us, I always say that is not the way we want to go. That's reverse marketing, if you ask me, because that same person is the one who's going to refer you to the next, hopefully, client. Yeah. So for us, is to our model has always been let our work speak for itself, and that has been how we've been able to grow. We've had to advertise, but we've mostly been on referral basis. For the event side, I think that works. For retail, of course, we'll have to do a slightly different marketing plan. So pretty soon we'll be holding a few events where I want to introduce our products and services, and you'll see that quite a bit actively in social media and also in professional marketing spaces. So yeah, it's a exciting time for me because it's a new chapter for me in a sense, but it's something I've done before. It's just now that we're going full force with it. And yeah, so I'm looking forward to that a lot, and hopefully continue, because one thing I also what I like to do is to keep our industry informed. So anything I find out, I try and share. A lot of people do. I'm an open book. If I know something and you ask, hey, I'll tell you, oh, do this. Even if you're the competition, I'll say, you know what, let's grow together. Or if you get stuck, we're here as a resource. So we work one with others as well. So for us, this is another avenue. And again, the content side is also something we've already started, but also we'll be putting a lot of energy into the content side as well. So I look at studio for production, studio for content, and retail for sales of speakers and systems.
Okay, so those are your future plans, and the services you're going to offer in the future.
So now let's say it really still lies within that same realm. We'll be doing quite a bit of hosting as well, because we also realize, you can have very good content, but if it's not distributed well, then things get, your message is lost, so to speak. So we want to also provide a service where we can host for clients and help with distribution globally, because I feel we're a global, community. Whatever you do today can easily be had in minutes in another side of the world. So we're leveraging our networks in the US. We have partners there. We're leveraging our networks in the East, so that's India and China. Europe right now, not yet. We're waiting for Europe to calm down, relax. I think for me, Brexit and all these other things, a lot of things are still a bit not quite settled. But if anything, we're looking at Germany perhaps as our next landing post for partnerships and so on. We will be building a lot of customized conferencing services as well, to include virtual services, but virtual on steroids. But we'll be sharing a lot of that as we go. There's a new product we'll be launching soon as well that will really marry live events and virtual events, or like a hybrid event. But how do you give guys online that experience? Like, to give them that experience like they're almost there. So that's why we're going to be virtual on steroids. So those are services you'll see stuff probably in the next 2 months or so on that. Yeah.
Fantastic. So if someone wants to book you for events or anything, how do they get in touch?
Always say check out our website. It's a very simple website. It just shows you what we've done, and at the bottom there's a easy way you can just send us an email from that website. It's mia-av.tv. Why I made it complicated, I don't know. So again, it's mia-av.tv. That's our website. And that one, again, if you send us a message from the website, it goes directly to our emails. Or if you want to do a direct email, it can be info.proaudio@mia-av.tv. Again, why I made it complicated, I don't know. I was thinking, I want to be different, but I'll say the website is the easiest one. So again, mia-av.tv is our website. And again, it's the communications tab at the bottom is very active, and we'll get your message right away. And of course, we'll update the website on special services such as the installation and so on. That's us in a nutshell.
Thank you so much for letting me interview you. It was a pleasure. Hoping to work with you in the future.
Excellent. No, thank you for having us. We don't get to be on platforms like this often. Again, we're usually behind the scenes. We just lift speakers and make things happen and make noise in the process. But no, thanks for having us again. And we wish you all the success in your new show. I think it's important, and again, thanks for being able to help us tell our story.
Thank you so much. Hey guys, keep it up at the fingertips for more inspiring stories. Thank you.